Hey guys, tonight we're venturing into a moonlit slice of ancient Greece, a realm where gods are infants, music is imbued with a haunting quality, and a lone tortoise finds itself entangled in a web of myth and melody. You're reclining on your back in the grass amidst the serene hills of Arcadia. The stars above you are so vivid they seem to be pinned in place. Crickets chirp in the background, and the wind carries the gentle, peppery scent of olive trees. It's a tranquil scene, but there's something in the air, a sound that disrupts the peace. Starts as a slow scrape, then another, and another. Like claws? Like stone? You sit up. Nothing. No lions prowling. No spirits in white. It's just that slow, scratchy sound like someone dragging a broom across dry earth. Welcome to ancient Arcadia, where the gods are petty, nature is theatrical, and you probably won't survive this if you take it too seriously. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is. I always love seeing those time zones scroll by. Now, dim the lights, turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink. The stars seem brighter now. Everything around you feels paused. The crickets have gone quiet. You move through the olive grove slowly, pushing aside the silvery branches. Somewhere nearby, a soft giggle bounces through the trees. It's not a creepy giggle, just a little too cheerful for midnight. You follow it. There, nestled in a shallow limestone cave barely lit by the stars, you see something you're not prepared for. A newborn. A literal baby, but not the loud, red-faced kind. This one is already sitting up and already grinning, wearing a floppy sun hat but with tiny white wings stitched to the sides. You don't recognize the smell at first. New god scent? Fresh ambrosia and something faintly metallic, but it's him, Hermes. Brand new. He was just born and still has that divine glow around his cheeks. And already scheming, his charm undeniable. You watch in utter bewilderment as the infant god rises to his feet. Not a wobble in sight. He dusts off his knees as if he's been there for ages and stretches like a bored office intern. Then, with the audacious confidence of a trickster with nothing to lose, he surveys his surroundings. Not far from the cave, you spot a herd of cattle. Sleek, glowing, and extremely off-limits. These aren't just any cows. These are Apollo's cows, the sacred kind that sings in myth and eats better than most humans in the region. Hermes, in the purest expression of toddler logic, decides, mine now. You duck behind a fig tree as he scoots over to them, clutching a bundle of reeds and a look of unearned confidence. In no time, he's fashioned makeshift sandals. Then, brace yourself, he flips them backward. He straps them on so his footprints lead in the wrong direction. This is not his first heist. This is not even his first hour of life. Historians still debate whether this story was intended to be humorous, symbolic, or simply an expression of ancient Greek parents' fears about unpredictable toddlers. Some say Hermes represents commerce, clever, fast-moving, and slightly dishonest. Others think it's a cautionary tale about trusting people who smile too much. All the scholarly debates about the symbolism of this story seem distant as you crouch behind the tree, watching his whistle to the cows. His tune is soft, cheerful, and completely casual. The cows follow, not bewildered but rather charmed. It takes him less than 10 minutes to hide the entire herd somewhere in the hills. Where? You have no clue. Somewhere God-accessible but mortal invisible. There's a pocket dimension with excellent grass. He returns to the cave looking smug, the kind of smugness that only a divine infant can pull off without getting grounded for eternity. And that's when he sees it. The tortoise. It's not moving fast because, tortoise, but it's making its way across the edge of the cave like it's on some ancient critical mission. You assume Hermes is going to step over it, maybe laugh at it. Instead, he stops, kneels. He lifts it in both hands and turns it over like he's inspecting a fine wine. The tortoise blinks, very slowly, If it could roll its eyes, it would. It's innocent in its way, unaware of the divine presence it's in. Hermes smiles. Fun fact, tortoises were not just background animals in ancient cultures. In Egypt, they were sometimes used as symbols of protection or, oddly, secrecy. In Mesopotamia, they were seen as quiet reminders of the underworld's slow passage. In Greece, well, they mainly were just there. But leave it to Hermes to see a future in that shell. He mutters something about excellent acoustics and vanishes into the dark part of the cave with the tortoise in one hand and a string of sheep gut in the other. You hesitate, but curiosity wins. The cave smells earthy and dry, a little metallic. You creep inside. There's humming now. No, not his humming, something more profound. A vibration. You feel it in your chest. Then, a sound that doesn't belong anywhere. A chord. It's soft, rough, a little unsure of itself. But it rings. You peer around a pillar of stone. And there he is, Hermes, grinning, holding something in his lap. It resembles a tortoiseshell because it is made from tortoiseshell, except that it has been carefully cleaned, polished, and slightly hollowed and now has strings stretched across the cavity. Gut strings were pulled taut across a small wooden bridge. You don't know it yet, but you're witnessing the birth of the lyre, a creation that will change the course of music history. And also the first haunted instrument. The moment he plucks it, the air changes. Cold breeze, no source. A flicker in the torchlight that wasn't there before. The cave is darker now, even though it shouldn't be. Your skin prickles. Not in fear exactly, just unease. The lyre hums again. You lean in closer. You hear it, the faintest noise underneath the cord. A scraping, like claws on stone. The tortoise isn't quite gone. You stay tucked behind the stone as Hermes hums to himself, completely unbothered by the minor spiritual disturbance he's just summoned from beyond the shell. He doesn't seem to notice the chill in the air, the way the shadows stretch just a bit too far, or how the newly strung lyre gives off the faintest echo, like it's playing itself a half-second after each pluck. But you, the silent observer, are acutely aware of these subtle disturbances. He plucks again. A simple two-note riff, like a lullaby that hasn't finished being born. The notes drift into the air and land heavy, like feathers soaked in water. For a moment, even the wind outside holds its breath. And here's where things get weird. Well, weirder. As you creep a little closer, Hermes tilts the lyre, and begins whispering to it. Not in Greek, not even in words. It's more like the coos a mother owl might make to its chick. Soft, high, and rhythmic. The lyre hums back. Look, historians still argue whether the haunted lyre was meant to be taken symbolically or just poetically. Some say it was a metaphor for how music awakens the soul. Others insist Hermes used the tortoise not just for sound quality, but because its shell held power, the kind that comes from something that's lived long and slow and knows things you'll never learn from a scroll. Either way, the moment is quietly unsettling, leaving you with a sense of intrigue and a desire to unravel the mystery. As Hermes yawns, stretch, and leave the lyre on a rock like it's yesterday's toy, a profound silence descends. His divine baby schedule calls for a nap and maybe a milk offering or two. He disappears deeper into the cave, snoring before he even lies down. You approach the lyre, cautiously, respectfully. There's no music now, just silence. But it's a loud kind of silence, the kind you can hear breathing if you get too close. It's your sharp eyes that first catch sight of the footprints. Tiny ones, about the size of your thumb, pressed into the dirt around the cave entrance. But here's the thing, they're everywhere like a child's been running circles in the dust. Or like something else has. You don't know it yet, but these little prints aren't from Hermes. His tracks, backward as they are, lead off toward Mount Silene. No, these are fresher, lighter, and distinctly reptilian. The tortoise is gone. Well, physically gone. But clearly it's not far. A shiver runs down your spine, and you do what any reasonable person would. You pretend it's not happening and look away. The cave is lovely. It's peaceful. You're probably imagining it. Outside, dawn starts to bleed across the sky. Soft rose colors spread like spilled wine across the clouds. You hear the birds warming up in the trees. It almost feels safe again. But suddenly, from the woods, a thunderous crash shatters the tranquility, heralding the arrival of a figure. Big, angry, sunbright. Big, angry, sunbright. You spin around and dive into the olive bushes just as he arrives. The sudden appearance of Apollo, a shift in the narrative that leaves you surprised and a little startled, is like a bolt from the blue. And he does not look like a morning person. His golden hair is in disarray. He's shirtless, glowing faintly from sheer indignation, and marching like someone who just stepped in something sacred. On one hand, he holds a staff topped with laurel leaves. In the other, a scroll filled with names, probably of people he's planning to glare at. Hard. He storms into the cave. He doesn't see you, but he senses something. His eyes scan the dusty floor. He considers the missing cows, the weird footprints, the lyre. You wait for him to explode. He doesn't. Instead, he tilts his head and listens. One of the strings hums. Faintly. No one's touching it. Apollo narrows his eyes. Now, here's the thing. Apollo isn't just a sun god. He's also the god of music, prophecy, and truth. So, finding a divine instrument just lying around? That's like discovering someone borrowed your diary, improved it, and left it open to a random page. You can feel his ego doing calculus. And still, Hermes snores peacefully deeper in the cave, utterly unaware that he's just stolen sacred cattle and accidentally invented a better version of Apollo's favorite hobby. Honestly, you almost respect the audacity. Apollo calls out. His voice is sharp but musical. Think an opera singer meets an extremely frustrated uncle. Hermes doesn't respond. You can practically hear the sun god counting to 10. But just before things escalate into full mythological drama, the lyre plays itself again. 3 notes. Soft, almost sad. Apollo pauses. The cave pauses with him. Even the birds outside stop chirping. The sound isn't quite music. It's a memory. You feel something stir in the pit of your stomach. A memory that's not yours. A forest long gone. Warm dirt. A slow breath. You're feeling the tortoise's last moment. It dawns on you, Hermes didn't just create music. He crafted it from something. He made it from something. Something that may not have been done yet. Apollo steps back. Not afraid, just puzzled. Which is saying something for a god who's seen prophecies, plagues, and poetry contests judged by goats. He doesn't touch the lyre. Instead, he calls out once more. Hermes, he says, in a tone so calm it's probably a trap. Hermes stumbles out with a flower stuck in his curls, and a look of, I'm innocent, plastered across his baby face. Apollo raises an eyebrow. Hermes smiles wider. You wisely inch farther back into the bushes. But for now, the wind returns. The trees sway gently. The notes fade. Yet, the tension between Apollo and Hermes is palpable, making you feel the brewing conflict and the impending clash of these mighty gods. But for now, the wind returns. The trees sway gently. The notes fade. And the haunted lyre waits. Hermes, exuding that maddening "who me?" aura, gazes up at Apollo like a guilty child caught with crumbs on his face, and still dares to deny any involvement. Apollo, to his credit, refrains from immediate retribution. That would have been too straightforward, too noisy, and probably too much paperwork on Mount Olympus. Instead, the sun god cautiously approaches the lyre, his finger not quite touching, just hovering as if it might bite. And it might. You've heard it hum. You've felt the air change. But Apollo doesn't flinch. He's the god of music, after all. Whatever enigmatic energy is pulsing from that tortoise shell, he believes he can master it. Hermes, watching all this from his perch on a smooth stone, says nothing. He picks up a stick and starts doodling spirals in the dirt as if this is all incredibly boring, and someone else stole 12 cows last night. You creep a little closer to the cave entrance. Still hidden, still trying to breathe silently. You're not sure if Hermes can see you, but you get the impression that if he wanted to, he could. And he's just letting you tag along for now like a bug with front row seats to a myth. Apollo finally speaks. Where are they? Hermes, with a nonchalant shrug, feigns innocence. Who? He asks, his voice dripping with mischief, adding to the tension between the two gods. A tension that you can almost taste in the air, like the crackling of lightning before a storm. Apollo gestures. My cattle. Hermes puts a chubby finger to his lips. Shoo! They're sleeping. Apollo is not amused. A slight solar flare erupts at the edge of his shoulder. Nothing big, just a warning shot. The kind of glow that says, I could turn this entire grove into ash if I wasn't so well-groomed. Still, Hermes remains unfazed. He grins, and this is the part that seals the whole vibe, burps. Loudly, like the god of flatulence. Then he glances at the lyre. You like it? He says. I made it from a tortoise. Don't worry, it wasn't doing anything important. This would likely spark an argument. And it does. But not the shouting kind. Apollo kneels, picks up the lyre. He turns it over in his hands. He plucks a single note, and the entire cave vibrates. Not like thunder. I do not even like music. It's more like memory. The sound stretches sin, KS, and folds the air around it. You feel dizzy for a second. It is like your ears are hearing something your bones remember, but your mind doesn't. Hermes watches. It's good, right? He says casually. I was going to sell it, but you can have it. You made this. Apollo's voice is filled with surprise, his eyes wide with disbelief, signaling the unexpected turn of events that even you didn't see coming. Like a sudden twist in a well-crafted story. Hermes nods, too pleased with himself for someone who still smells faintly of milk. Used the shell, guts from the cow I didn't steal, bent a stick, and poof. Historians still argue whether Hermes was the inventor of the lyre or whether this myth gave him credit for something older. There's some evidence of stringed instruments in earlier Mesopotamian and Egyptian cultures, but none quite like the Greek lyre. What's not debated? Hermes' boldness. The god was a walking startup incubator. Apollo stands. He doesn't yell. He doesn't scold. He says, play it. Hermes blinks. What now? Apollo folds his arms. Hermes sighs like someone being asked to redo a magic trick for the third time at a dinner party. Then, slowly, dramatically, he lifts the lyre and strums it with the back of his knuckles. And here's where things shift. The note rings out, fuller this time. Softer, but not weak. You feel it pass through your ribs, like wind through a window you forgot to close. Then, slowly, Hermes begins to play. It's not a melody at first, just wandering notes curling like vines. You hear the echo of waves, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the hush of night under trees. The lyre sings, and the world leans in. Even Apollo looks stunned, his expression a clear reflection of the sudden change in his demeanor. A change that you can't help but notice, like a shift in the wind that heralds a new chapter in the story. But then it happens again. A second sound, hidden in the music, soft, ragged, like breath behind a door. You look around. Nothing moves, but your skin knows. Your instincts know. The tortoise is still here. Its shell may be hollowed, its body gone, but something within those strings remembers. Something slow, something ancient, something left behind. Apollo tilts his head. Hermes stops playing. The silence that follows is heavy, almost loud. I'll trade you, Hermes says suddenly. Apollo blinks. Excuse me? The lyre. You give me the cows. I give you this. Apollo stares at the instrument. The strings shimmer faintly like they're vibrating even now, though untouched. You want to trade a stolen herd for a haunted turtle harp? Hermes shrugs. Seems fair. There's a pause. And then, because this is mythology and the rules are mostly vibes, Apollo agrees. Hermes grins, tosses over a tiny scroll with coordinates to where the cows are grazing happily, and hands off the lyre. Apollo takes it, holds it, listens to it whisper. No one speaks for a long moment. Then the air changes again. This time, the breeze shifts inward, like the cave is inhaling. The shadows grow deeper. A note rings out spontaneous. Neither of them plucked it. And from somewhere just outside, you hear it again. That scrape. Slow. Dry. Dragging across the rocks. The tortoise isn't finished with you yet. You don't scream. Mainly because you're trying to be brave, but also because your vocal cords seem to have packed up and left. That sound. The tortoise's slow, scraping shuffle. Echoes just beyond the cave mouth, steady as a metronome. You turn your head, expecting to see a shadow, a shimmer, maybe a godly prank. The mystery of the tortoise's transformation keeps you on the edge of your seat. The gods, too, are caught off guard. Their reactions a mix of surprise and curiosity. But there's nothing. Just the wind moving the olive branches and a few startled doves lifting off into the morning sky. Apollo, meanwhile, is holding the lyre like it's both precious and mildly radioactive. He strums a cautious chord. It rings clear, beautiful even, but underneath, it lingers something faint, like the murmur of someone else playing from far away, slightly out of sync. Hermes pretends not to notice. He's busy twirling a reed between his fingers and trying to look innocent. So, he says, "We good? I get the cows, you get the music. Everybody wins." Apollo, his shoulders tense with a strange half-pause that gods make when something divine is bothering them, is squinting into the cave's dim corners, listening. You can feel the tension in the air, the weight of the unknown. Then Hermes finally cracks. "Okay, maybe it's a little haunted," he mutters. "But like artistically haunted. Adds character." You snort. "I can't help it." It slips out. A tiny accidental laugh. Both gods freeze. Apollo's head turns first, then Hermes. You press back into the rock wall behind you, which is not precisely a hiding spot, but it's all you've got. Hermes raises an eyebrow. "You've been following me this whole time?" You give a guilty shrug. Apollo narrows his eyes, then tilts his head like he's trying to figure out what species you are. "Mortal," he says flatly. "Technically," Hermes adds, tapping his lip, "but maybe a curious one. Before you can get turned into a cricket or a whisper or a very regrettable flower." Hermes waves dismissively. "Let them stay. They heard the music. That means they're part of it now." "Part of what?" you ask, voice small. Hermes grins. "The story. And that's how you get roped into one of Olympus' weirdest musical custody battles." Now that the trade is done, Apollo attempts to walk away with the lyre tucked under his arm like a lute. But with each step he takes, the strings vibrate on their own. A little hum, then a sigh, then a long, low tone that sounds suspiciously like a yawn. He halts, his expression a mix of surprise and suspicion. He stops. "So," Hermes says carefully, "did I mention the tortoise might still be, listening?" Apollo glares. "Listening from where?" Hermes shrugs. "The shell? The in-between? Look, I just wanted to make music. I didn't sign up for metaphysical drama." You step closer despite your better judgment. "What does it want?" Both gods turn to you again. Hermes looks mildly impressed. Apollo seems mildly annoyed. "It's a tortoise," he says. "What could it want?" Hermes scratches his chin. "Well, it did have a life before I turned it into an instrument." And here, dear listener, we tumble headfirst into one of mythology's least discussed questions. What happens to something's soul when it becomes an object? It's a mystery that has intrigued philosophers and storytellers for centuries. And now, it's unfolding before us. Some ancient philosophers believed everything living had an essence, a breath, a spark, and that spark could linger, especially if the transformation was, let's say, abrupt. Tortoise 1 minute, musical innovation the next. That's enough to leave a little echo behind. Hermes picks up another lyre, just a stick and string this time, less haunted, and strums it beside Apollo's. Nothing strange. No whispers. No ghost notes. Just regular plinks and twangs. But the tortoise lyre? Still humming. Still restless. Apollo raises the instrument and holds it to his ear like a conch shell. And he hears something. He flinches. What was that? He demands. Hermes gulps. Okay, so maybe, just maybe, I heard something the first time I played it, too. A little whisper, like a voice saying, "Not done." But I thought it was just my conscience. Apollo looks skeptical. Do you even have one? Hermes grins. It's on vacation. They engage in a heated debate. About music. About souls. But most of all, it is about the tortoise's destiny. It's a discussion that has no clear answer, and it's one that still reverberates in the annals of history. The gods' voices rise and fall, each arguing their perspective passionately, their words echoing in the cave. Eventually, Hermes proposes an experiment. It's a bold move, a leap of faith in the face of the unknown, but it's also a sign of hope, a belief that they can unravel the mystery of the haunted lyre. Let's play it, Hermes suggests, his eyes glinting with a mischievous spark. But not just here, somewhere sacred, somewhere tuned to weirdness. The gods' plan to play the lyre in a sacred place fills you with hope for a resolution to the mystery. The prospect of uncovering the truth in a place of power and mystery adds a new layer of anticipation to the unfolding story. Apollo narrows his eyes. You mean like a temple? Hermes shrugs. Or a cave with good acoustics. Or that place where goats walk backward on cliffs. You suggest something, too. A spot you passed on the way here. A grove where the air felt thin like the veil between worlds had been stretched too tight. The gods exchange a glance. Not bad, Hermes says. You're learning. Before anyone can vote, the lyre gives another of those shimmering tones. It's louder this time, and this time, it hurts. Just a little. Prickle behind your eyes. Like too much sunlight or a smell you can't place. You stagger back. Apollo steadies you. His hand is surprisingly calm. It's waking up, he says under his breath. Or remembering. Hermes sighs, brushing off his robes. Told you we should have started with a frog. And with that, the plan changes. The haunted lyre needs to be understood, respected, or, failing that, returned. But returned to where? The tortoise didn't have a shrine. It didn't have a family. It was just a tortoise. Except maybe it wasn't. You, the reader, are not just an observer but a participant in this unfolding tale. Your journey began somewhere between the magical cow theft, the haunted musical instrument, and the casual godsplaining. You transitioned from a mere mortal to a character in this fantastical journey. Your transformation is not just a plot point but a significant part of the story's progression. This makes you feel more engaged and invested in the narrative. Your presence is not just acknowledged but integral to the story. Hermes skips ahead, barefoot and unbothered, while Apollo walks beside you like a beam of judgmental sunlight. He still has the lyre tucked under one arm, though he's holding it like it might bite him again. Which, to be fair, is not off the table. The path you take winds through gnarled olive trees and steep stone ledges. At one point, a deer sprints across the trail, stares directly at you, and vanishes as if a curtain swallows it. No rustle, no sound. You decide not to ask questions. That is the theme of this morning. Eventually, you arrive at a hilltop clearing ringed with tall cypress trees. The breeze here moves differently, more like breath than wind. The ground underfoot feels hollow as if something once lived beneath it and may or may not still be listening. This is it, you say quietly. You don't know how you know. You do. The tortoise belonged here once. or something like it did. The transformation of the tortoise, its evolution into something more, should fill you with a sense of wonder and amazement, drawing you deeper into the unfolding mystery. Apollo sets the lyre on a flat rock in the center of the clearing, then steps back. Hermes folds his arms. All right, let's see if it speaks. But neither of them touches the instrument. Instead, Apollo hums. A single low note, like a seed dropped into a well. The sound hangs there, then fades. Hermes snaps his fingers. "We need resonance," he says, conjuring a reed pipe out of thin air. "Something to pull it out." You watch, slightly amazed, as he begins to play a soft, meandering tune. The notes are delicate and playful, like sunlight dancing across a stream. You half expect woodland creatures to show up and start sweeping. But the lyre stays still. Then Apollo joins in, harmonizing with a sound so smooth it feels like honey being poured into your ears. And that's when it starts. The lyre vibrates, not from touch, from memory. One string plucks itself, then another, then a full chord, rich and ancient and impossibly sad. You feel it bloom in your chest. Something you've never heard before but that your heart insists it knows. It's the tortoise. Not words, not even a voice, just feeling, slowness, warmth, loneliness, a life spent moving through the world unnoticed, then taken, transformed into beauty, but never asked. You sit down on the grass without meaning to. It's too much to stand for. Hermes, suddenly quiet, lowers his pipe. "It doesn't hate me," he says, blinking. "I thought it would." Apollo speaks next, softer than you've ever heard him. "It wanted to be remembered." And here we arrive at a turning point. The tortoise wasn't cursed. It wasn't angry. It was awake, or part of it was, still tied to its old shape, its old shell, transformed by art but never freed by it. This unexpected twist in the story should leave you with a sense of surprise and intrigue. You've never considered the ethics of musical instruments made from living things. Most people don't. But in this moment, it hits differently. The tortoise didn't become a lyre. It was compressed into one. His life didn't end. It just shifted tracks. The air in the clearing starts to shimmer like heat off the stone. But this time, it's not heat. It's presence. And you see it, for just a moment. A tortoise, no bigger than a loaf of bread, strolling around the lyre. It's not made of matter. It's light, dust, maybe thought. It circles once, twice. Then, it fades into the strings as if stepping back into its echo. You're not the only one who saw it. Apollo stares at the lyre in stunned silence. Hermes bows, and he doesn't bow to anyone lightly. "There it is," he whispers. "The ghost in the shell." Historians still debate whether this myth is an allegory or a confession. Some think it's a cautionary tale about ignoring the voices we silence in our rush toward invention. Others see it as a reminder that beauty often comes from sacrifice, but not always willing ones. It's a story that invites us to ponder the ethics of creation and the cost of art. It challenges us to consider the consequences of our actions, the price of beauty, and the voices we may be silencing in our pursuit of progress. The gods stand there, their usual air of superiority replaced by a rare moment of contemplation. For once, they are not the ones in control, and it's a situation they're not entirely comfortable with. This moment carries a weight that you can feel in the air. For once, I am not talking. Eventually, Hermes clears his throat. "So what now? Do we bury it? Burn it? Play it every full moon?" Apollo shakes his head. "It stays with me." Hermes arches an eyebrow. "Possessive much?" "It chose me," Apollo replies simply. Hermes doesn't argue. He nods. Then Apollo turns to you. "You heard it too," he says. "The memory." You nod. "That means something," he says. "You're a witness now." Your role as a witness is emphasized, making you feel important and involved in the unfolding events. To what, he doesn't explain. And honestly, he might not even know. Gods rarely give you the whole syllabus. The lyre glows faintly in the soft morning light. It's not ominous now, just present. And for the first time, it is completely still. No whispers, no chords, just peace. For now, you're still sitting in the grass when the peace starts to shift. Not vanish, exactly, but soften into something more curious. Like the silence after a story when someone finally clears their throat and says, "Well, that was something." Hermes stretches like a cat and spins the reed pipe in his fingers. "So," he chirps, "we solved the haunted tortoise problem. Kind of. Wanna go see where the cows ended up?" His playful tone and mischievous grin add a touch of amusement to the scene, entertaining you with their banter. Apollo gives him a look that could strip bark from a tree. "They're sacred animals, Hermes. You can't just park them like chariots." Hermes grins. "You can if you're creative." The two gods begin walking, bickering like siblings in the world's most absurd buddy comedy. And you trail behind them because, of course, you do. You're not done with this story yet. Not even close. Their banter makes you feel like a part of their world, a witness to their unique and endearing relationship, drawing you further into their world. The trail leads you away from the cypress clearing into a series of rocky hills speckled with thyme and wild fennel. The sun is climbing now, warm on your neck. You feel normal again, almost, but there's still a hum in your chest, like the echo of a song that isn't quite finished. Eventually, you reach a ridge that overlooks a shallow glen. And there they are, the cows. All 12, glowing faintly golden in the sun, lounging in a field of daisies like the cover of a divine pet calendar. A few are chewing lazily. One is inexplicably balanced on a boulder, looking smug. Another appears to be watching ants. Apollo sighs. "At least they're unharmed." "Physically," Hermes says, "yes. Emotionally, maybe not. I think that one saw me play the flute." You laugh, but there's something gentle in the sound now. A release, like the tension from the cave, the lyre, the tortoise. Somehow it's loosened its grip on the morning. As you sit down on a flat rock, watching the cows and pretending you haven't entirely accepted your new life as a background character in an Olympian road trip, Hermes flops beside you. "You ever think about how myths get started?" he asks casually. You blink. "Isn't that your department?" He shrugs. "Sure, but we don't exactly write them down. That's your people. Mortals. You hear something, you tell someone. They tell someone else. Suddenly, I'm the god of liars, and the tortoise gets a footnote." You frown. "It shouldn't." Hermes tilts his head. "What?" "The tortoise," you say. "It mattered. It was part of it." Hermes looks at you for a long time, and for once, there's no smirk. "You're not wrong," he says quietly, "but remembering something doesn't make it less strange, or less sad." He pulls a sprig of fennel from the ground and twirls it between his fingers. "There was a time," he says, "when we thought everything had a soul. Every river, every stone. We used to ask permission before cutting a tree. Bury the bones. Whisper to the wind. Then we got efficient." You glance toward Apollo, who is now inspecting his cattle like a manager checking inventory. The lyre is slung over his back, humming faintly. Not loud, just enough to let you know it's still aware. "Do you think he'll keep playing it?" you ask. Hermes leans back on his elbows. "He has to. Instruments don't like being ignored." That's a real thing, by the way. In many folk traditions, from India to Ireland, musical instruments are said to possess personality. They go out of tune when sad. They resist bad players. Some are even buried like people when they can no longer be played. You watch Apollo adjust one of the lyre's strings, and for a moment, the breeze carries a soft note across the ridge. It's calm now, not haunted. Just be watchful. "So," Hermes says, turning to you, "what would you do with a ghost instrument?" You shrug. "Ask it what it wants." He laughs. "Simple. Human. I like that. A hawk circles overhead. One of the cows sneezes. And then, as if the gods have collectively remembered they have divine errands to run, things start moving again. Their sense of duty is palpable, and it fills you with respect and awe for the immense weight of their responsibilities. Apollo gestures to the cows. They fall into line like very sleepy soldiers. Hermes produces a map from somewhere, possibly his sleeve, perhaps a pocket of air, and marks it with a small X. "You'll want to stay off the path afternoon," he says. "The nymphs get rowdy." You nod, mainly because it seems like the polite thing to do when an immortal trickster is giving you travel tips. Then, as if on cue, Apollo steps closer, marking the beginning of a new phase in your journey. He holds out the lyre to you. You freeze. "Me?" He nods. "Hold it." Carefully, like it's both a gift and a test, you take it. It's heavier than it looks. Warm, too. The strings buzz faintly against your fingertips, but not in a threatening way, more like a purr. "Do you hear it?" he asks. You do. A soft hum, like a memory being carried on the wind. Slow footsteps, dry leaves, a life lived in a shell, now stretched across chords. The emotional weight of the music resonates with you, connecting you to the tortoise's journey. "I think it likes you," Apollo says. "Should I play it?" You whisper. Hermes grins. "Only if you're ready to feel everything it ever felt." No pressure, then. You pluck a single note. It rings through the glen, clear and sweet. Not sad, not scared, just true. And for the first time, you feel the tortoise is at peace. The gods nod, their satisfaction palpable. It's a moment of closure, a resolution to the tortoise's story that you can't help but feel. And somewhere deep in the soil beneath you, a memory curls up, finally ready to sleep. The lyre rests in your lap now, its strings still vibrating from that single, shimmering note. You can feel it in your bones, low and warm, like the final breath before a nap. Hermes and Apollo have gone quiet again, which, for two gods with more opinions than temple inscriptions, is saying something. You don't ask what it means. You know, somehow, that the tortoise's spirit has stopped pacing. For the first time since Hermes picked up a hollowed shell and thought, "You know what this needs? Strings." The creature's soul has found stillness. Anticipating the god's swift return to Olympus, you are taken aback when Hermes stretches out on the sun-drenched grass, gazing at the clouds as if time were a mere afterthought. Apollo, still tending to his cows, eventually joins him, settling into a surprisingly relaxed posture for a being of such divine authority, his golden hair shimmering in the sunlight. Hermes points at the sky with a fennel stalk, initiating a profound discussion. "You know," he muses, "when people first created music, they didn't bother to write it down. They just played it, hoping someone would remember the tune." Apollo hums. "It's because the music wasn't meant to last, to exist in the moment." You nod slowly, like the tortoise. Hermes smirks. "Look at you, getting all philosophical. Next thing we know, you'll be inventing temples." As you gaze at the lyre, a sudden realization dawns on you. It's lighter now, not in weight but in presence. Whatever was gripping it so tightly before, the ghost, the memory, the unfinished story, it's loosened. It's still a relic, still sacred, but now, it's alive without being trapped. You say it aloud without meaning to. It's a home now, not a prison. Hermes sits up, clearly delighted. "That's it. That's the quote. That's what I'll carve into the next one I make. This shell is a home, not a prison." Apollo raises an eyebrow. "You're not making another one." "Oh, absolutely not," Hermes says. "I've learned my lesson. No more haunted lyres. Next time I'll use a gourd." You laugh, and even Apollo smiles, if just a little. The kind of smile that sneaks up on his face like it wasn't invited. The cows begin to wander slowly back toward their pasture, tails swaying like metronomes. The breeze shifts. A warm hush settles over the hills. And then you hear something. Not the lyre, not the cows. Not the gods. It's water, a trickle, somewhere nearby. You rise, drawn to the sound, and Hermes follows, bouncing along like a fox in sandals. Apollo lingers, then follows too, curious, despite himself. The anticipation of what you might find is palpable, adding a sense of mystery to the moment. You find the spring nestled in a crook between two rocks, no larger than a kitchen sink. Clear water bubbles up from underground and spills into a little pool, green with moss. And there, half buried in silt and wildflowers, is a second shell. It's smaller, empty, and still, a mystery waiting to be unraveled, adding a sense of intrigue to the moment. Smaller, empty, still. Hermes kneels, brushes earth from the edge. It's just a shell, he says, but his voice lowers with the last word. Because it is just a shell, and also not. You don't need to touch it to know. This one wasn't made into an instrument. It was left here, naturally, returned. Apollo looks at you. Do you want to? You nod. Gently, you place the lyre beside the old shell. The two forms sit side by side, sun-warmed and ancient, like cousins reuniting after a very long journey. It's a moment of peace, a closure to a chapter of the story, bringing a sense of calm to the scene. Hermes, ever the inventor, snaps his fingers and produces a sprig of laurel. He places it between them. A peace offering, he declares, his voice carrying the solemnity of the gesture. You can feel something shift again. Nothing loud or ghostly, just a settling like a book being closed. A circle finished, bringing a sense of resolution to the story. Historians, by the way, still can't agree on whether the haunted lyre story ends here. Some versions say Apollo took it and made it his signature instrument forever. Others claim it vanished from the world entirely, buried in a mountain temple no one's found. And a few fringe theorists, usually the ones with very dramatic notebooks, swear the lyre occasionally reappears near places where people hear music but find no source. But you know the truth, or at least a version of it. The story didn't end. It rested. Later that day, Hermes decides it's time to move on. He conjures up a small bag of olives and tosses you one like it's currency. For the road, he says. And hey, next time you hear a turtle humming, maybe don't ignore it. Apollo, being Apollo, nods once and walks away like he's got a sonnet to write and 3 prophecies to issue before dinner. You watch them go, and then you do the only thing that makes sense. You sit down between the shells, close your eyes, and listen. No words, no music, just quiet, like a memory finally let go. The sense of closure is profound, leaving you with a feeling of satisfaction as the story comes to its end. You sit for a long time, long enough for the shadows to shift, for the sun to dip just slightly toward its golden afternoon descent. The lyre beside you, now resting next to its silent twin, doesn't hum anymore. It just is, still whole and somehow fuller than before. The music is still inside, but it's not trying to escape anymore. You feel a profound connection with this instrument, a bond that transcends words, a sense of belonging and attachment that roots you deeply in this mystical world, making you a part of its very fabric. You run your fingers over the strings, not to play, to feel. They're warm, like sun-baked stone. One string twitches lightly under your touch, but instead of sound, it releases a memory. Not yours, not even the tortoise's exactly. Just the sensation of being known, of being seen, even if only for a moment. This feeling of validation washes over you, comforting and reassuring, as it acknowledges your presence in this mystical world, making you feel truly seen and understood. The wind moves through the cypress trees like a whisper, trying not to wake a baby, and you realize strangely that you're hungry. It's the first normal feeling you've had since you followed Hermes through a moonlit olive grove, and honestly, you'll take it. This hunger, this simple bodily need, is a welcome return to the mundane, a sign that life is slowly returning to normal, bringing a profound sense of relief and comfort in this unfamiliar world. like a familiar blanket in a strange place. Just as you stand, the silence breaks with a familiar voice. Did you think I'd leave without saying goodbye? You spin. Hermes stands at the top of the ridge, leaning on his staff with that same sideways smirk. He's not glowing or floating or doing anything particularly divine. He looks like someone you once met at a festival who later turned out to be a god. I thought you were gone, you say. I was. Then I remembered I owed you something. He tosses a small leather pouch your way. You catch it barely. It's surprisingly heavy. Inside, a single coin, a bronze medallion with a lyre etched on one side and a tortoise on the other. This coin, a symbol of Hermes' protection and a reminder of the tortoise's wisdom, is a token of your journey and the lessons you've learned. It's a reminder that you are not alone in this world and that wisdom can be found in the most unexpected places. Souvenir? You ask. Protection, he says. Or maybe just a reminder. Depends on the day. You turn it in your palm. The tortoise's tiny legs are carved in motion like it's walking forever forward. The lyre's strings shimmer faintly, even though it's just metal. Hermes plops down beside the spring, dunking his hand in and splashing water onto his face. I used to think music was about impressing people, he says. Fast fingers, clever tricks, catchy endings. But that lyre, he trails off, watches the surface ripple. It's not about showing off, you finish. It's about listening. Hermes glances at you, mock offended. Careful. That almost sounded wise. You grin. I'm learning. There's a long pause. Then, without looking at you, he asks, do you want to keep it? Your breath catches. The lyre. He nods, staring at the sky. Apollo doesn't need it. He's got like 7. And honestly, that one already picked you. You glance over at it. The instrument rests beside the old shell, no longer glowing, pulsing. But there's something in its stillness that feels like an open door, not calling you in, but waiting patiently. I wouldn't know how to play it properly, you say. Hermes shrugs. Neither did I. That gets a laugh out of you. He stands and brushes the grass from his robes. Well, time's weird, and I've got places to be. There's a goat in Arcadia who thinks he's a prophet. I should probably tell him he's not. You look up. Will I see you again? Hermes flashes a grin that is half mischief, half mystery. Probably, but you won't realize it's me until I've stolen your sandals. Then, just like that, poof, he's gone. A swirl of wind, a laugh on the breeze, a faint smell of fennel and old parchment. You're alone again. Well, not alone. You pick up the lyre. It doesn't resist. It doesn't purr, glow, or whisper. But it feels, right? It's like carrying a story. It's like wearing a memory. It's as if this instrument was always meant to be yours. A part of your journey and your identity. It's not just a musical instrument, but a part of who you are. A symbol of your connection to this mystical world. You sling it across your back, tuck the coin into your pocket, and take one last look at the old shell by the spring. You bow to it, not because you're told to, but because it feels like the only correct thing to do. Then you walk, not toward home, not toward Olympus, just forward. The path bends, and you follow it, the weight of the lyre a gentle pressure against your back. The wind carries a faint melody, not from the strings, from you. The story isn't done after all, because sometimes the best songs begin in silence. By the time you reach the edge of the hills, the light has softened into that golden, syrupy haze that makes everything feel slightly enchanted. Even the rocks, even your own dusty feet. The path winds lower now, toward the plains, and in the far-off distance, you spot the glint of rooftops. A village, maybe, or a temple. Hard to say, but you don't head straight for it. Instead, you stop at a crooked pine tree bent sideways like it's whispering secrets to the grass. The lyre on your back is quiet but not dormant. You can feel its awareness, gentle, like a cat curling up on your shoulder. No voices, no ghosts, just attention. You sit beneath the tree and reach into your pocket for the coin Hermes gave you. The tortoise side catches the light first. You study its tiny legs, the slow, eternal crawl etched into the bronze. You turn it over, the lyre. 2 lives, 1 shell. You don't know what made him think of giving this to you, but it's starting to make sense. Maybe it's not just a reminder. Perhaps it's a choice. Because here's the thing you haven't quite admitted yet. You're not just a passerby in this story anymore. Somewhere between the cow thieving, god bickering, and haunted string plucking, you've shouldered a responsibility, a custodianship of something older than either of them. This burden, this sense of duty, it's not just a part of the story, it's a part of you now. It's a weight you carry, a role you must fulfill, and it's a responsibility that you can't ignore. It's a responsibility that grows heavier with each step, each decision, and each note played on the lyre. This sense of responsibility is not just a plot point. It's a profound part of your character, and it's something the audience can feel with every word. Not of the gods, not of the gods, not of the gods. Of the in-between, a mysterious realm where stories hide, forgotten lives echo, and tortoises whisper. It's a place of wonder, of intrigue, and you're about to step into its depths, into a world where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and the known becomes unknown. The mystery of this realm is captivating, drawing you in with its secrets and possibilities, and leaving you with a sense of anticipation for what's to come. That strange, sacred space where stories hide, where forgotten lives echo, where tortoises whisper. You flip the coin again and again, and then you hear it. Not from the lyre this time, from the sky, distant, slow, drums. No, not drums, asterisk hoofbeat star. You rise, squinting toward the horizon. A cloud of dust is forming on the plains. Something is coming. Hermes did mention the cows were sacred, but you got the sense that Apollo's herd weren't just pretty animals. And now that you think about it, he never did explain how Hermes managed to steal them in the first place, or why they glowed. The hoofbeats grow louder, steadier, then they stop. Suddenly, the dust settles to reveal not cows but women. 12 of them, tall and graceful, shimmering faintly in the sun. Each one holds a staff topped with a golden crescent. They wear tunics woven from something that flickers between fabric and cloud. And their eyes look like they've seen every version of this story before. They're not just characters in the story. They're the keepers of its history, its essence. Their presence is not just significant. It's profound, casting a weighty influence on the unfolding events, a weight that you can feel in the air, in the way the grass leans toward them, in the way the world seems to pause in their presence. Their arrival is a mystery, a puzzle waiting to be solved, and it fills you with a sense of intrigue and anticipation for what's to come. The mystery of their arrival is palpable, and it leaves the audience on the edge of their seats, eager to uncover the secrets they hold. One of them steps forward. "The lyre," she says. You tense. Grip it without thinking. "Are you here to take it?" you ask. "No," she replies, her voice calm and reassuring. "We're here to hear it." You blink. Hear it. Another step closer. You carry a story that has not been played in full. "Where did you come from?" you ask. The first woman smiles. "From the silence between Hermes' lies and Apollo's truths." "Okay, cool, normal, not at all cryptic and terrifying." "Why me?" you whisper. The tallest one looks at you kindly. "Because you listened. And somehow that's the only answer you need. You've listened, you've learned, and now you're ready to play your part." They sit in a circle wordlessly, waiting, watching. The sun dips lower, the breeze stills. Even the insects seem to hush. You sit in the center. You lift the lyre, and you begin to play. It's clumsy at first. A few missed notes, a string that buzzes a little. But then, something catches. A rhythm, a memory, a pulse. The melody pours out. Not from your fingers, but from the tortoise. Through you. A A slow, looping theme. A lullaby for something long gone but not forgotten. The women close their eyes, some sway. One begins to hum. The grass leans toward the sound. The world leans toward the sound. And then, one of the strings snaps. Not violently, just done. The music halts. You stare, startled, but no one moves. No one panics. The woman nearest you nods. It's finished. You look down. The snapped string curls into a spiral on the ground, still faintly glowing. What does it mean? You ask. It means, she says, that a story can end gently. There's a pause, a deep one. Then the 12 women rise in unison and begin to walk. Back into the dust, back into wherever they came from, their departure marking a sense of closure to this part of the story. You want to call after them. Ask what just happened. Ask what happens next. But you don't, because you already know. Even after the women vanish into the horizon, their presence clings to the air like perfume on a silk robe. Subtle, persistent, impossible to ignore. You sit alone beneath the crooked pine tree, holding the lyre with its single snapped string, and for the first time you're not sure whether you've witnessed a divine ritual or just dreamed too hard on a hot day. You pluck a surviving string. It sings back, soft and slightly brittle. Still with me, you murmur. The tortoise, your silent companion, doesn't respond. Not directly, but something in the lyre, a tension that had been wound tight like a coiled snake, seems to relax like a long-held breath finally let go. The tortoise, a symbol of wisdom and patience, has been with you since the beginning of your journey, offering silent guidance and understanding, much like the wise old tortoise in the fables. You sling it across your back again. You don't feel like a musician. You don't feel like a prophet. You feel like someone who wandered into a song they weren't supposed to hear and stayed too long. As the sun dips low, casting long shadows across the hills, your thoughts turn to food again, because divine encounters do not cancel hunger. You trudge down the hill and, after a while, find yourself on a dusty goat path that smells faintly of thyme, pine sap, and something vaguely cheesy. There's a small cottage up ahead, stone walls, a tiled roof, and smoke curling from the chimney like a story trying to find a beginning. You knock, because what else are you supposed to do? The door creaks open to reveal a significantly older woman stirring something in a clay pot with a spoon the size of a paddle. She doesn't look surprised to see you, or the lyre. Her eyes, deep and knowing, seem to hold a universe of secrets, sparking a sense of wonder and mystery in you. About time, she mutters, stepping aside. You enter, blinking as your eyes adjust to the dim light. The inside feels like a warm embrace, smelling of garlic and secrets. Dried herbs are hanging from the beams, amphory stacked in the corners, and a large, shaggy cat curled in front of the fire who gives you a distinctly judgmental glance. The cozy atmosphere of the cottage immediately puts you at ease. You're the one Hermes dropped on the hills, the woman says, her voice carrying the weight of ages. She is not just an ordinary woman. She is a keeper of ancient secrets, a weaver of forgotten tales, and a master of the lyre, her fingers having once danced on its strings in the halls of the gods. Her words command respect, making you feel attentive and respectful in her presence. But who is she? A mortal? A goddess in disguise? The question lingers in the air, adding to the sense of mystery. You hesitate. I mean, technically, I followed him. She shrugs. Same difference. She ladles soup into a bowl and sets it in front of you. Eat. You do. It's good. Rich, earthy, just a little spicy. Possibly enchanted. The woman sits across from you, peering through eyes that seem too sharp for someone her age. Let me see it. You hand over the lyre. She doesn't play it. It doesn't even strum. She holds it like you'd have an animal that's been scared too long. Still humming, she murmurs. But it's quieter now. You nod. It let go of something, a burden perhaps, that it had been carrying. The woman nods in agreement, her eyes reflecting the understanding of a shared experience. Or remembered how to carry it properly, she says. She places the lyre carefully on a cushion by the fire and stands. Come with me. You follow her to a small back room filled with scrolls, weathered instruments, and what appears to be a shrine made entirely out of broken flutes. She gestures to a shelf lined with strange objects. A cracked tambourine, a wooden pipe with teeth marks, a harp with strings made from silver thread. All of them have stories, she says, gesturing to the shelf. Most of them ended badly, but they are not forgotten. They are here, in this shrine, as a testament to the enduring power of music. You ask, why keep them? She smiles. Because songs outlive mistakes, and sometimes something broken still deserves a home. She hands you a scroll. It's old, written in a language you almost but not quite recognize. She taps the top line. It's a song, from long before Olympus. Can I read it? No, she says, but the lyre can. You return to the fire and sit cross-legged. She hands you the instrument again. The snapped string is still curled like a vine, waiting to be remembered. As you take the lyre in your hands, you feel a unique connection, as if it's not just an instrument but a part of you, a companion on your journey of self-discovery. You place your fingers on the strings, glance at the scroll, and start to play. Not perfectly, not even well, but with intention. And the lyre responds, not by guiding you, but by meeting you halfway. Together, you make something new, a melody that's not in the scroll but was hiding beneath it. A tune the tortoise might have played if it had been born with thumbs. The power of music to create something new, to transform the old into the fresh, is palpable in the air, stirring your emotions and igniting your imagination. Outside, the wind picks up. The cypress trees sway, and from somewhere in the walls of the cottage you hear laughter. Soft, slow, ancient. The older woman doesn't speak again until the last note fades. Then she nods. It's yours now. You blink. The lyre. No, she says. The story. You glance down. The snap string has vanished. In its place is a soft groove, like a wrinkle in the shell, a mark of passage, a memory etched in silence. You stay the night curled on a floor mat, the lyre beside you like a dog that's finally chosen a favorite human. The fire cracks gently. The cat snores like a small, furry storm. And before sleep takes you, you whisper one last thing into the quiet. Thank you. You wake to the smell of rosemary bread and the sound of goats arguing outside the window. Morning sunlight slips through the shutters in polite ribbons, gently nudging your eyes open. For a moment, you forget where you are. Then you spot the lyre resting by your side, the scroll tucked beneath it, and the memory of everything comes rushing back. Well, I'm not rushing exactly. It strolls in, yawns, and offers you tea. The older woman is already at the hearth, flipping something in a pan with the confidence of someone who's fed prophets, thieves, and possibly a minor river deity or two. She doesn't look up when she says, "Good, you're still breathing." You sit up. "Thanks." "Don't thank me," she says, placing a small plate beside you. "You did the hard part." You glance at the lyre. Its surface has changed again. Faint markings along the shell that weren't there before, like stretch marks of memory. Each groove, each ridge, tells a story. Yours is now one of them. "Where am I?" you ask, chewing warm bread that tastes suspiciously like magic. She shrugs. "Where you need to be." Her response is a classic mythological answer, leaving you with more questions than answers, adding to the intrigue of your situation. After breakfast, and a brief lesson in how not to anger a goat named Themistocles, you step outside. The hills look different in daylight, less mysterious, more welcoming, as if they remember you and decide you were all right after all. The woman appears behind you. "You've got a choice, you know." You raise an eyebrow. "Is it between goat herding and becoming a forest witch?" "No," she says, not smiling, but not smiling. The story can end here, or it can go on. You look out over the landscape. Somewhere beyond those hills is Hermes. Somewhere further still, Apollo. Maybe even that circle of women again, listening for the next song. And you're carrying a haunted but healing lyre, a coin with a tortoise on it, and a scroll you can't read but now feel in your bones. You make a conscious decision. Of course, I'm going. Your determination to continue the journey is palpable, and the anticipation of what's to come fills you with excitement. The older woman nods once. Take the lower path, the one with the cedar grove. You'll know when to stop. She doesn't offer a farewell. She turns back into her cottage, where the goats immediately resume their debate about breakfast order. You follow the dirt trail through wildflowers and grass, the lyre slung across your back like a secret. It doesn't hum this time, but you swear the birds are singing in time with its memory, adding to the sense of anticipation. As you walk, you begin to hear it again. Not the melody itself, but the silence between notes. That charged quiet that makes the world feel like it's listening. Hours pass, maybe more. You lose track of time. It's that kind of day. Finally, you come to a clearing exactly as the woman described. A ring of tall cedar trees whispering over a shallow stream. A perfect amphitheater, made by accident or intention or fate. You sit in the center and unpack the scroll. You still can't read the words, but the lyre doesn't care. You place your fingers gently on the strings and begin to play, letting the feel of the place guide you. The song that emerges is slower than the one you played in the hills. It's softer, more personal. It's about stillness, about carrying weight without complaint. It's about hearing your echo and deciding to keep going anyway. You don't know how long you play. Time stretches and contracts like breath. And then you hear footsteps. A child appears from between two trees, no older than 7, eyes wide, holding a basket of berries. Was that you playing? She asks. You nod. She walks closer, slowly, as if afraid to spook the moment. Then she sits beside you. Can I listen again? You play. And this time, the song feels different, like it was always meant to be shared. The child doesn't move. She listens with the complete attention only children and very old souls possess. That sounded like my grandmother, she says, her voice filled with wonder. You blink. Did she play? No, the child says. But she always made everything feel okay, like that song did. You look down at the lyre. It's humming again, but not for you this time. For her. You pass it gently to the child, half expecting it to resist. But it doesn't. Her fingers rest on the strings, and the air around you deepens. Not darker, just fuller. The cedar trees sway, the stream pauses, and the lyre, once haunted, once heavy, once made from an unwilling shell, sings a new kind of song. It's not about grief. It's not about ghosts, but about hope. The first few notes the child plays are more rhythm than melody, just soft plucks and uncertain pauses like the lyre is trying to remember how to speak her language. It's a delicate dance, a beautiful struggle that you don't interrupt. You don't guide. You watch, feeling the rhythm of her journey, because sometimes the best way to honor a sacred thing is to get out of its way. The cedar trees sway in slow applause. The stream begins to move again, but quietly, as if it's listening too. And above you, 2 birds circle lazily, weaving in and out of one another's flight paths like they're dancing to a new tune. The girl plays a little longer. Then she stops, suddenly embarrassed. Sorry, she says. It probably sounds silly. You shake your head. It sounds right. She beams. Not the kind of smile kids give when they're praised, but the kind they give when they believe you. It's a trust that makes you feel valued, a belief in your understanding of the music. You think her trust is like a warm embrace, a confirmation of your connection to her and the music. She hands the lyre back, her gesture as reverent as a priestess returning a sacred relic. It's a moment that fills you with a sense of respect for the instrument and the stories it holds. You feel a deep reverence for the lyre, a connection to the stories it carries and the memories it preserves. "I should go," she says, picking up her basket of berries. "If I don't get home soon, my brother will eat all the figs and blame the goats." She starts down the trail but pauses, looking back over her shoulder. "Will you be here tomorrow?" You smile. "I don't know, but the music will be." She nods once, profound, then disappears into the trees, humming her melody under her breath. A melody that now carries the weight of her story and yours. You sit alone again. The lyre is warm in your hands but not demanding. It's not just an instrument but a vessel for stories and memories. The song she played is still lingering in its strings. And in yours, you stretch out on the grass beneath the cedars, staring up into branches that knit together like a dome. The wind carries scents of crushed pine and wild honey. You let your fingers drift lazily across the strings. This time, the melody isn't just from the tortoise. It's from the cave, the cypress grove, the cracked shell by the spring, the older woman's cottage, and the scroll you can still read, but now you understand. It's a melody that weaves a tapestry of wonder and mystery. It's from the cave, from the cypress grove, from the cracked shell by the spring, from the older woman's cottage, from the scroll you can still read, but now you understand. And most strangely from you, because the tortoise didn't just give up its shell. It gave you a piece of its story, and now you're not just telling it. You're not just telling the story. You're changing it, shaping it into something new and beautiful. The story is evolving, just as the music is, taking on new layers and meanings with each retelling. A soft chuckle rises from the bushes. You don't even have to turn around. "Let me guess," you say. "You were hiding in the form of a squirrel this whole time?" Hermes strolls out, brushing twigs from his robes. "I was going to be a bird," he says. "But that child kept throwing breadcrumbs at me." You sit up. "Did you see her play?" Hermes nods. "That lyre hasn't sounded like that since it was a shell." You hold it up. "Is it done?" Hermes shakes his head. "Stories don't end. They molt." He sits beside you, plucking a single note. The air ripples, not magically, emotionally, like the feeling you get when you remember something important you didn't realize you'd forgotten. "You know," he says, "when I made this thing, I thought I was being clever." You raise an eyebrow. "You did steal a tortoise's house and turn it into an instrument." He grins sheepishly. "In my defense, I was less than a day old and very ambitious." You laugh. "You invented the first lie, didn't you?" He shrugs. "Lie, metaphor, tomato to mytho." Then softer. "But I never meant for it to carry so much pain." You glance at the lyre. "Then why does it still sound beautiful?" Hermes looks at you for a long time. "Because beauty isn't the absence of pain. It's what we build from it." You both sit in silence after that. Not awkward, just full. Like a song that's reached its bridge and needs a moment to breathe. Eventually, he asks, "What will you do now?" You pluck one string. It sings out into the grove, soft as dusk. "I think I'll walk," you say. "Find a village. Share the story." Hermes grins. "You'll need a name for it." You think for a moment. "How about the haunted tortoise and the first song?" He nods. "Sounds boring enough to last forever." You rise, sling the lyre over your back, and begin down the trail. It curls like a lazy thought through the trees, carrying you into the golden hush of late afternoon. Behind you, Hermes hums something tuneless but warm. Ahead of you, the path opens wide. And beside you, always, the music waits. The trail guides you through a mesmerizing landscape of sun-dappled woods, where the light filters softly, painting the earth with patches of gold. Your steps are slow, unhurried, perfect for the music humming faintly in your bones. The lyre, a faithful companion, rests comfortably against your back, its ancient wood resonating with the spirit of the woods, its strings echoing the whispers of nature. As you walk, you become more attuned to the small wonders of nature. The satisfying crunch of dry leaves beneath your feet, the sweet tang of wildflowers brushing against your ankles, and the occasional rustle of small creatures hidden just beyond sight. The world feels alive in a way it hadn't before, like you're finally tuned into a subtle frequency you missed until now, feeling a part of this living, breathing world. You pause by a clearing where a small brook babbles over smooth stones. The air is cooler here, scented with moss and wet earth. You sit on a flat rock, gently easing the lyre from your back. Like strands of time, its strings glint in the soft sunlight, catching your attention. Each string is a whisper of the past, a promise of the future, a note in the symphony of life. The lyre, with its ancient wood and weathered strings, seems to hold a secret, a story waiting to be told. You run your fingers over them, testing their tension. Each string seems to tell a different part of the tortoise's story. The slow crawl, the quiet patience, the resilience that carries through time. You smile, realizing the music isn't just about notes. It's about moments. Nearby, a pair of birds flit through the branches, their chirps forming a kind of spontaneous duet. You tap a rhythm on the lyre, matching their song. The connection feels sacred, an unspoken conversation between you, nature, and something older, something deeply rooted in the fabric of the world. As you sit, lost in the music and the world around you, a figure emerges from the trees. A traveler cloaked in a garment that seems to shift with the light and carrying a satchel that looks as old as time. She smiles warmly, her eyes crinkling at the corners, and sits beside you without hesitation. "You play beautifully," she says softly, "not like a master, but like someone who understands the weight of stories." You nod, intrigued. "Do you know about the haunted lyre?" She chuckles. "Oh yes, many know of it, but fewer understand. It's said to carry the voice of the past and the hope of the future." You glance at the lyre, then back at her. "How did you come to know so much?" "Stories travel just like people," she replies. "I'm a collector of tales, memories, songs." You lean in eager. "Will you tell me one?" She considers. "Perhaps, but only if you promise to share it forward." You smile. "I promise." She begins to weave a tale of an ancient city, a place of grandeur and tragedy swallowed by the sea. The people sang to calm the waves, their voices rising like a prayer, and begged the gods for mercy. The story drifts around you like smoke, filling the air with mystery and melancholy. As she speaks, the lyre vibrates gently on your lap as if responding to the words. The story ends not with a disaster but with a song, a lullaby for lost things, carried on the breeze to those willing to listen. You feel a gentle peace settle in your chest. The traveler's eyes twinkle. The past lives in us all, waiting for the right moment to sing. You nod, understanding finally that your journey with the lyre is just beginning, a thread in an endless tapestry. The sun begins to set, casting the sky in shades of pink and lavender. You thank the traveler and continue your walk, the soft melody of the lyre accompanying your steps as the world shifts into twilight. The twilight wraps around you like a cozy blanket as you continue along the winding path, the lyre's soft hum blending with the gentle rustling of leaves. The air cools, carrying hints of pine and earth, and the first stars blink awake in the deepening sky. You feel a quiet contentment as if the world has exhaled alongside you. Ahead, the silhouette of a small village emerges. Stone cottages with smoke curling lazily from their chimneys, lights flickering warmly from within. It's the kind of place where stories are shared over firesides and nights stretch long and slow, perfect for music and memories. This village, nestled in the heart of the forest, is a sanctuary for those seeking solace and connection. A warm embrace in the cool evening. You enter the village just as the evening settles fully. The streets are quiet, the kind of silence that speaks of people winding down after their day, settling into the night rhythm. At the village square, an older man sits on a bench, whittling a piece of wood by the glow of a lantern. He looks up as you approach, his eyes sharp and kind. "You carry a lyre," he says, nodding toward your back. "Yes," you reply, "and a story." He smiles. "Then perhaps you can play for us." You hesitate, but the warm invitation is hard to refuse. You settle on the bench beside him and pull the lyre into your lap. Your fingers find the strings, tentative at first, then confident as the melody flows. A slow, gentle tune weaving together the echoes of tortoise steps, ancient shells, and whispered legends. The music, like a spell, captivates the villagers, drawing them closer with its enchanting beauty, transforming the quiet square into a place of wonder and shared experience. The villagers, drawn by the music, gather nearby. Their faces are filled with a soft wonder, their eyes reflecting the flickering light of the lantern. The music touches something deep within them, stirring memories and emotions long forgotten. It's as if the melody has unlocked a door to their past, allowing them to relive moments of joy and sorrow. Some wipe away tears, others smile with bittersweet nostalgia. Among them, a young girl leans on her mother's arm, her eyes wide as she listens. The mother smiles softly, her hand gently squeezing her daughter's. You notice an older woman tapping her foot rhythmically, a smile breaking across her face as the music unravels memories long tucked away. The melody meanders through the cool night air, carrying a strange comfort. It's not flashy or loud, just a gentle reminder that stories endure, even when forgotten or silent. The music transforms the atmosphere, turning the quiet square into a place of shared experience and wonder. The older man whistles softly. "You have a gift, not just for playing, but for carrying." You nod, feeling the weight of his words settle warmly. As the night deepens, the villagers share their stories, tales of lost love and quiet heroism among their ancestors. The square fills with soft voices, laughter, and the occasional sigh. You feel a deep sense of belonging, as if you've always been a part of this community. The stories intertwine, forming a bond that transcends time and space. The lyre rests beside you, humming softly like a companion content in its purpose. For a moment, the world feels perfectly still, a place where past and present blend, where the haunted lyre no longer holds sorrow but hope. You lean back, eyes on the stars above, heart lighter than it has been in days, and you realize that every story, no matter how strange or small, deserves to be heard. Each tale, like a thread in a grand tapestry, weaves together to form the rich fabric of our shared human experience. Your own story, too, is a precious part of this intricate design. The dawn arrives quietly, washing the village in soft pastels, pale pinks, gentle oranges, and the faintest hint of gold. You wake with the light filtering through your window, the lyre resting beside your bed like a trusted friend waiting for you to begin a new day's song. It has been your companion, your confidant, and your guide, weaving a melody that echoes the rhythm of your journey. These are not just objects but symbols of the stories you've encountered, the music you've played, and the paths you've taken. They are a part of you, a connection to the countless others who've walked similar roads, told whispered tales, and strummed uncertain chords. You step outside to greet the morning, the village already stirring with the soft murmur of life. Footsteps on cobblestones, the low bleat of goats, the murmur of water from the nearby stream. The world feels fresh, full of possibility. Before you leave the village behind, the older man from the square approaches, holding a small package wrapped in cloth. He hands it to you with a knowing smile. "Something to remember us by," he says. "It's a symbol of the journey you've undertaken, a reminder of the stories you've collected, and a testament to the connections you've made." You smile. "Thank you." He nods. "May your story carry far, and your music never fade." With that, you sling the lyre across your back, clutch the tortoise close, a symbol of patience and endurance, and set off down the path that leads away from the village and toward the unknown, the unexplored, and the unexpected. The anticipation of what comes next, the thrill of adventure, fills you with a sense of excitement, igniting a spark of anticipation in your heart. The road stretches out before you, dappled in sunlight and shadow, humming with the anticipation of what's to come. And as you walk, you realize the true gift Hermes gave you wasn't the lyre, or the coin, or even the stories. It was the courage to listen, to carry, and to share. Because some stories aren't meant to end. They're meant to travel, slow and steady, like a tortoise on a timeless journey. The power of these stories, their ability to endure and inspire, is a testament to the human spirit and the deep connections we share. Let this realization inspire you, filling your heart with the motivation to continue your journey. You take a deep breath, the melody of the lyre whispering at your side, and you walk on. Now, as your eyelids grow heavy and the world softens into the gentle embrace of night, breathe in the calm that comes from knowing stories live within you, waiting, patient, and enduring. The lyre's song fades into a tender hum like the last flicker of twilight before sleep takes hold. Imagine the quiet rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, and the slow, steady footsteps of a tortoise tracing a path through the moonlit grass. Let the rhythms of this strange, haunted journey settle deep in your heart, reminding you that even the quietest stories, those whispered in the wind, hold power, and the gentlest music, a soft lullaby, can carry us home. Rest now, knowing that the past, the present, and the dreams ahead weave together in a lullaby just for you. Sleep well, and dream softly in the tranquility of the night, feeling the soothing tranquility of the night.